This Wonderkid striker is one of the most underrated gems in FM24, so today I'm going to tell you all about him. That's right, it's a striker for today's Wonderkid to Superstar episode, the series where we find a Wonderkid in FM24, showcase them to you guys, show you what they might look like on the worst end of their potential range, but more importantly, just how good they could be at their maximum potential in your save. Today's player, like I say, I think he's pretty underrated. Pretty much no one is really talking about him, and I think that's because his potential range is lower than some others, but in terms of starting attributes, he has everything he needs to be world class at full growth. So we're going to tell you all about him, but before we do, if you do enjoy the video, make sure you go ahead and smash that like button for us, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And finally, if you want us to check out a specific player, let us know in the comments down below. With that being said, let's go find this guy. And we're heading to South America, which you might have guessed based on the title or the thumbnail. I'm sure there'll be some reference to a player that I think he's quite similar to at full growth, but we're heading over to Club Atlético Unión de Santa Fe, also known in game as Union brackets SF. But basically, go to the Argentinian divisions, look for this club, and in their ranks you will find this guy, Geronimo Danima, who is an Argentinian striker, 17-year-old that you'll find at that team, but we've already moved him over to Real Madrid here for the sake of the simulation. Value-wise, you'll be looking at £2-3 million for him, depending on his potential range. On the higher end, he'll be closer to that 3 million, and if you get a worse version of him when your save starts, it will be closer to that 1.5-2 million pound mark. Either way, he's worth the investment, whatever kind of version there is in your save. And whilst he might not be immediately someone that you might look at and say, yes, this is a Real Madrid striker, in terms of his starting attributes, he's actually got quite a lot going for him. Before we talk about those though, his potential range is 130 to 160, which is lower than some Wonderkids, but if you can get him on that higher end, he'll be deadly because he already has some great attributes for the in-game engine this year. He's not very strong or good in the air, but he's a small, quick forward, and at 17 to have 14 pace and good acceleration too, you're going to see that increase a lot over the next few years. Between the ages of 16 to 18 is where you'll see a lot of physical growth in a player, so Domina has got plenty of time here to become a better player in those areas, but it's not just there where he shines. In his mental attributes, he's very well rounded. Yes, leadership, positioning and bravery aren't great, but literally everything else is in a good position. He's got great dribbling, finishing and first touch too to start off with, as well as that great work rate, vision, passing and technique. There's a lot going for him at such a young age. Like I say, we have used the editor to bring him over into our Real Madrid side, but he has been at Union for a few years, so there'll be nothing stopping you from going out and buying him. You won't have to wait any kind of time, but put a scout on him, see how he's getting on. I would say straight away he's got the ability to be a high level championship striker, but within a few years he will be a Premier League level player if we use the English divisions as an example. If you get the best version of him at full growth, he could definitely play for a top 6 level club. Real Madrid might be a bit of a step too far for him in terms of the calibre of player that he is, but you'll see in the simulation he does not look out of place in this Real Madrid side. Before we see him develop though, we need to talk about his training and what you can do to turn him into a very good forward option. Firstly, with every young player, try and make sure they're being mentored. We've got the mentors of Luka Modric and Dani Carvajal rubbing off their influence on the 17-year-old, and then in terms of his actual training, we're not going to choose an additional focus. We never do for these simulations, but you guys definitely should. In terms of what that should be, it's obviously totally up to you, but I look at him and he's not really got an immediate weakness, I wouldn't say. I mean, mentally he's quite well balanced already, good in his technical attributes too, and physically he's quite strong, and like I say, that's going to go up. Now I say strong because he's good pace-wise and acceleration, but if you actually want to get his strength attribute up, that wouldn't be the worst idea in the world. I think for me though, I just hone in on that finishing ability, focusing on shooting, get his long shots up a little bit, and that finishing and that technique. I think that will really help him. The main thing though is that you've got him being focused in on a role, whichever role he's going to play for you. I think advanced forward is going to work best for him, and then in terms of traits, I definitely think beating the offside trap would suit him with his pace and acceleration, especially in a few years when that develops a little bit. Tactically, we are going to be using him, as I mentioned, in that advanced forward role on his own, see if he can get some goals. Obviously he's not going to start for Real Madrid straight away, but we're going to ask the assistants to play him as often as possible to see how he can develop at a big club like this. For you guys, you obviously want to develop him a little bit before you use him for your team, depending on the calibre of club that you're managing. But either way, Domina can become a beast, but first we're going to see him on the lowest end of that potential range. And here is Geronimo Danima, age 19, only 2 years at Real Madrid, and he has developed a massive amount, as you can see. Now, I said I was going to show you him on the lowest end of this range, but within 2 seasons in this save file, he's already getting closer towards the higher end of it. This is him currently sitting at about 150 current ability out of the maximum of 160 potential. The game clearly rates him with a 4.5 star ability rating. He's got an Argentina cap. He's valued at about 70 million quid. Got plenty going for him in the coach report, but attribute wise, this guy has developed into an absolute beast already. I mean, he's got the acceleration, the pace, the stamina is really high too, and that strength has gone up a lot. I did mention in those years between 17, 18, you're gonna see a lot of physical growth, and that's clearly happened for Demina. Mentally, he's starting to get better too. He was already good, but he started developing some of those areas that we saw he was already strong in: the work rate, the flair, the determination, the composure. His vision is now 15, his technique is 15, his passing is 14. And then the Holy Trinity, dribbling, finishing, and first touch, both 14s, and dribbling already at a very high rating. Now, in game, he has been having a little bit of an issue. In Season 1, he wasn't registered after the January transfer window by the assistant, and the same happened in Season 2 as well. So he has unfortunately only played half a season on both occasions, just over actually. 22 games in both years. In year 1, he scored 1 in every 2 games, which was not bad at all, 11 goals in 22, and the year after, he gets 16 goals. But looking at him now, you almost guarantee that he will be registered for next season. The way that he's developed, how good he is, he's already an international for Argentina. If the assistant doesn't register him going forward, there is something wrong with him. But now we're going to simulate to see just how good he can look at the prime of his career. Before we see Demina at full growth though, just to let you guys know, if you haven't heard me talking about it somehow yet on the FMSCOUT channel, I do also have my own channel, which you can find linked in the description. Over there, we do YouTube shorts about Wonderkids like this that you might not have heard of. As well as that, we do full rebuilds of clubs where in the space of one video, 30 minutes, we'll rebuild a team over the space of 5 seasons. So if that sounds interesting to you, make sure you come on over and check the channel out. I'm sure you'll enjoy it. But what I know you'll enjoy is Demina here at full growth. Now, he has had some decline in certain areas of his game, but other areas he has got better. For example, as he's got older, his dribbling seems to have got a bit worse. He's also lost a bit of stamina too, but these things will happen as a player gets older. He's 26 now, in the prime of his career, and even though his valuation isn't as high as it once was, he is currently at the highest rating that he has been current ability-wise, sitting at 160. You can see he's a 4.5 star player here at Real Madrid. He's got a few years left on his deal, so 50 million looks like a bargain for a man that is scoring goals at all levels. He's obviously not starting for Argentina by the looks of it, but he is scoring 8 in 32 for them, which is not a bad return at all. But he is definitely getting a great return playing for Real Madrid. After you last saw him, he got registered for a full season, scored 39 in 38, more than a goal a game, and then since then, he's been hitting regular high numbers. His most recent season probably is worse, and maybe why there's been a decline in his valuation. Either way though, he's clearly a massive talent, and definitely a must-buy at 2 or 3 million, even if he is on the higher end of that valuation. To me, he looks very much like Aguero in terms of his style of play. Obviously, he's not an exact replica, you're never going to get anything like that, but if you're after an Argentinian striker, quite diminutive, but also quite strong, great pace, great anticipation and reading of the game with good finishing ability, dribbling and also playmaking, I think very similar to Aguero. Let me know what you think though. Now we're going to see him at the end of his career. And here he is, age 36 now, still playing, still doing well, but retiring at the end of this season. He's ended up in Saudi Arabia for Al Hazem, but he's also played for Porto. He went to Saudi after leaving us on a free, did well enough to get a move back to Europe, where he proved himself for Porto and got himself a 5 million move back to Saudi Arabia straight after. You can see he continued to score plenty of goals for Real Madrid. I've just had a look as well, and he has won an award. He won World Player of the Year in 2030, beating Bellingham and Vinicius with 44 goals. If that doesn't prove to you that he's worth the initial investment of a few million, then I don't know what will. He goes down as one of the best strikers in the history of football. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed it. Make sure you give him a scout in your save. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.